It's hard to believe that Red Dead Redemption 2 is so close to release, and yet that's very much the case. Rockstar have barely shown off their latest title, producing a select few trailers and releasing just over a dozen screenshots, and it's been very refreshing to actually approach a new release with minimal knowledge of the game's most intricate mechanics. Hands-on previews have also recently emerged, as well as another gameplay episode, and together they help paint a picture of an immaculately detailed, sprawling environment where players are given a full license to live in the Old West, down to the most insignificant detail. That's right folks, it's me, Ewan, and as WhatCulture's most rootinest, tootinest member, it's time to take a look at 14 of the most pointless details in Red Dead Redemption 2, guaranteed to blow your mind. Number 14. Eating meals. Eating food in RPGs is never usually an essential task. In Skyrim, for instance, you can prepare a selection of classic recipes, but there's nothing really out there that says you should eat a cooked meal and not, say, 40 wheels of cheese in some panicked attempt to avoid being sent into the stratosphere courtesy of those bastard giants outside Whiterun. For Red Dead Redemption 2, Rockstar are attempting to make the art of cooking and eating a key pillar of gameplay. If protagonist Arthur Morgan goes a day or two without food, he'll get thinner, overindulge in the culinary delights of your nearest saloon, and he'll put on weight. Number 13, each part of your revolver is interactive. In what can only be described as the Western equivalent of being able to activate and deactivate your lightsaber on a whim, or even being able to retract or open your claws as Wolverine, players in Red Dead will now be given the option to interact fully with their weapons, whether they wish to fan their revolver, spin the cylinder, or throw it around Doc Holliday style. On that note, please watch Tombstone. Anyway, this will also factor into gameplay as players now have to pull back the hammer before they let off a shot from their pistol. Yee-haw. Number 12, horse shrinkage and customization. Yep, say it with me, horse bores. Horses are synonymous with the Old West, and though emphasis was never really placed on your stallion in the last Red Dead, Rockstar are looking to change that this time around. Now, players will be able to customize their horse from top to bottom. There are dozens of breeds to tame, and with saddles, bags, horseshoes, and more all to apply at your choosing, it appears as though Rockstar are making a genuine effort to foster a relationship between the player and their steed. Oh, and your steed's gonads may expand or shrink depending on the weather. Lovely. Number 11, the way terrain transforms. Judging from what we've seen so far, Red Dead Redemption 2 has to be the most stunning game on current-gen consoles. The world map boasts a stunning array of different environments, all of which boast their own unique challenges to the player. Take the snow-topped mountains found in the northerly region of the game. They look gorgeous, with snow blanketing paths, hills, and more. Said snow has been rendered immaculately, melting in some spots but several inches deep in others. These deeper areas slow the player down, and their horse as well, providing another challenge to traversal. So far, we've seen several locations in Red Dead's map, including the urbanized districts of the East Coast, the aforementioned wintry areas of the North, the Great Plains of the Midwest, and the swampy marshes of the Bayou located down south. The arid baking heat of Mexico is also set to feature at one point, providing players with a veritable trough of different locales to sit back and admire, as opposed to just one color palette all the time. Number 10, NPCs react to events, and interactions are more unique than ever before. In an effort to make Red Dead's world feel genuinely lived in, Rockstar has spent a great deal of time ensuring every interaction is worthwhile. NPCs will react to current events, your past escapades, and even your cleanliness. And with so many variables to take into account, it's likely players will have to play quite a bit before getting a repeat piece of dialogue. Kotaku Australia's write-up of the game's preview build used the example of a saloon to highlight the various interactions players could have with townsfolk. In it, they describe upsetting a superstitious woman, antagonizing some rowdy patrons, and even taking another path where they ended up de-escalating a conflict. In Red Desk terms, this would be referred to as indulging either in your inner Frank Bastard or your inner Terry Spice. Number 9, you purchase items by browsing an actual catalogue. To further hammer home the realistic nature of the Red Dead Redemption prequel, when players look to barter with traders and shopkeepers, they'll actually consult an in-game catalogue. There aren't any menus this time around, you just walk in, find the catalogue, and choose from there. It's a great change to the UI, and players looking for the ultimate Old West experience will also be happy to note that the HUD elements can be nixed altogether. Number 8. You can brush and feed your horse. Players who are particularly fond of animals may wish to sit Red Dead's hunting sequences out, but at least they'll be able to look after their horse instead. Players can brush, feed, and of course customize their steed, and while these are all pointless to a degree, they point towards an underlying goal from Rockstar, that this horse is meant to be your horse, rather than just a simple means of transportation. Number 7, there's a cinematic camera and it won't get you killed. Cinematic cameras have never really worked in any other Rockstar game, unless you're in the passenger seat of your friend's car in GTA Online, in which case the feature is safe to use. You'll find yourself crashing into obstacles left, right, and center as though you'd picked up your license from Tonka Racing. In any case, it's great that Rockstar haven't abandoned the camera, especially now that they've got the perfect setting in which to use it. Westerns have long been famed for their stunning vistas, experimental cinematic techniques, and superb cinematography, so what better way to pay tribute to that than by giving players the option to frame the Old West just the way they want to. Number 6. Trains come with all the bells and whistles. Although Red Dead Redemption was a stellar game, it wasn't without its flaws. For starters, the morality system felt underbaked, and despite there being a brilliant open world and story, it often felt as though there wasn't much to do in it. This became particularly apparent whenever players wished to have John Marston rekindle his outlaw days, as the only places that could be robbed were banks. Red Dead Redemption 2 is looking to address this issue head-on, thankfully, with players now able to hop aboard a train whenever they wish, rob the occupants inside, or even take control in order to make a quick getaway. Number 5. You have to take care of your firearms. Although an emphasis was placed on firearms in the somewhat underrated Max Payne 3, weapons have all handled very similarly in Rockstar's games. There's the trademark weapon wheel, the auto-aim that lets players snap to targets in an instant, and the smorgasbord of firearms ranging from pistols to rifles and even explosives. Such an approach has been scrapped altogether for Red Dead Redemption's prequel. Now, players will genuinely have to think about what weapons they carry. You can only use what you wear, and bigger weapons must be stored on your horse. But there's more too. Starting from October 26th, any player embarking into Red Dead's world will have to look after their weapon, as anything from mud to water can seriously affect its stats. Number 4. Your hair grows gradually over time. A new mechanic for Rockstar's games and a departure from the previous template used to customize characters, players in Red Dead 2 will now have to contend with a growing head of hair and facial hair too. In order to ensure Arthur doesn't look too scruffy, they'll have to head to a barber and get a cut, trim, and slash or shave. Whereas before, players in GTA could hop into their nearest salon and instantly change a buzz cut into a long flowing mullet-esque mane, they'll now have to actually grow it themselves over time. The same goes for a beard, which can only be stylized and trimmed once it's at a certain length. Number 3. Layered clothing is back, and you can roll up your sleeves. The first Red Dead Redemption had a number of outfits to use, but player customization was never really a priority. You had Marston's normal denim jacket to wear, and then a few other outfits to pick up as the story progressed. You couldn't alter individual items of clothing like the previously released GTA 4, and the layering of GTA 5 wouldn't come into play until 2013. Red Dead 2, obviously, is making an effort to go one step further. Layering from GTA 5 is back, and though playable characters will be given specific clothing templates based on the weather, players can pick and choose what they want to wear, craft clothing, and even roll up their sleeves or tuck their trousers into their boots should they wish to. Number 2, you can have a bath. As was shown during Red Dead's latest gameplay video, players can, and preferably should, make Arthur Morgan take a bath. If he doesn't, then he'll start to smell, and you'll find it mighty difficult to get anyone to talk to you if you're not taking good care of his hygiene, a principle I hope you all apply in everyday life. Number 1. All the depth to stranger encounters. Red Dead Redemption 2 has a heavy emphasis on exploration, and one of the things you'll find while exploring the frontier are strangers. With this being the Old West, you'll find characters both good and bad, and there's a surprising amount of depth to each encounter. Rockstar have made a big deal of the fact that you can interact with any character, but more importantly that you can choose how you interact with them too. Arthur can antagonize or calmly approach a given NPC, and some will even challenge him to specific battles. GameSpot noted in their preview how one encounter saw them enter a bet with a Mexican gunfighter, one they subsequently lost. The true depth of this encounter, however, is best shown by the fact that the game doesn't force you to hand over your dough. It has to be a voluntary transaction. One can only speculate as to what would happen if you refuse to fork over the cash, but it exemplifies perfectly just how Red Dead's gameplay encourages players to make their own stories. Of course, there's an overarching narrative to invest in, but as players explore the Old West, they're going to make their own adventures. That, more than anything, is what's so exciting about this prequel. And that was our list. Are you excited about Red Dead's detail, or is it all a little bit excessive? Please let us know down in the comments below. Like, share, and subscribe, and then head back over to whatculture.com/gaming for more tall tales of the Old West every day. As always, I've been Ewan, and if you'll excuse me, I have to get up away. Yeah!